Drifting we roam, finding our place in the vastness we call home. With courage and wonder we reach for the light, guided by visions that illuminate the night. Mystery cloaked in the vast unknown, truth and discovery seeds we sow. In this guarded wonder we seek the key to unlock the secrets of our galaxy. Of our galaxy. And with the horizons, our spirits ignite, chasing the dreams that fill the night. Stars are our compass, and time is our friend. Together we'll journey where stories transcend. Mystery cloaked in the vast unknown, truth and discovery seeds we sow. In the starlit wonder we seek the key to unlock the secrets of our galaxy. Through endless horizons, our spirits ignite, chasing the dreams that fill the night. Stars are our compass, and time is our friend. Together we'll journey where stories transcend. Through endless horizons, our spirits ignite, chasing the dreams that fill the night. Chasing the dreams that fill the night. A symphony nights with one not name. A symphony of wonder, a secret key to unlock the secrets of our galaxy. Voices of the cosmos whisper our name. A symphony of wonder on verge of a celestial refrain. In each passing moment our wisdom grows. In the dance of the universe the truth flows. In the quiet of the night we dream and fly, with questions that echo through an endless sky. Bound by the stars our story unfolds. In the universe our destinies are told.
Let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this road we will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the the heart of SNX, where the truth is gold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright. SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots. Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spot. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX Radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare. So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX Radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side, we stand hand in hand. In this dance of truth, let the story expand.
Where the stars and secrets glow. Subnation X radios glow. In the night we'll ride the show into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown, shown. Dance to the beat we own, oh, yeah. Come with us and let it go, go. Night sky whispers in the dark. Secret trails will leave a mark. Follow close, ignite that spark. We're on a ride, it's just the start. Into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown, shown. Dance to the beat we own, oh, yeah. Come with us and let it go, go. Feel the rhythm, feel the night. Every heartbeat, pure delight. Mysteries come to light. Hold on tight, it's out of sight. Into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown, shown. Dance to the beat we own, oh, yeah. Come with us and let it go, go. Feel the rhythm, feel the night. Every heartbeat, pure delight. Mysteries come to light. Hold on tight, it's out of sight. Into the unknown, unknown, where mysteries are shown, shown. Dance to the beat we own, oh, yeah. Come with us and let it go, go.
night. E.T. whispers, look up, don't be shy. Paranormal tales woven into fate as Coley invites us to contemplate. Feel that chill when shadows align. Experiences unfold, one of a kind. Off-world encounters, truth they must find. Open your heart, release your mind. Take the leap, step into the light. With SNX Radio we will ignite a symphony of strange where the bass drops low. Journeying deep where the unknown flows. Life beyond the veil of sight. What secrets kept from our human plight? Colin's conversations stir the thread. An awakening call for the living and the dead. Take the leap, step into the night. With SNX Radio we will ignite a symphony of strange where the bass drops low. Journeying deep where the unknown flows. As the echoes fade and the night draws near, the truths we seek become crystal clear. With SNX Radio, keep your mind open wide, for in this journey we all confide.
All right, and welcome back to SNX Radio. We have a Saturday night all planned out, and I'm very, very excited to introduce these two guests. Shouldn't say they're friends. Great people. So we have a really good show planned. So with our introductions, I hope everybody shouting out to. We've got Twitter, X that we're streaming to. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and yeah, that's it for right now. I have one more, but a Kick. Yep, and we're going on Kick. So, like I said, welcome everybody. Twitter, you guys are kind of quiet over there on the questions. So if you want, please just put all questions in caps. Go ahead and click on the screen, and that's going to enlarge it for you. So, and all of our YouTube OGs, we got to see who's Scott Rosin. Oh, Scott Rosin has this strange ability. He like predicts what I'm thinking, I think. No, he's Scott's family. He's been a part of the group for a long time, so that's great. Hey, Chris, he's actually from the local area. Nice to see you. Starshine, hello, welcome. Oh, I was seeing people, and I know Fred has a lot of friends, and James too. So Kelly's with us, Fred Zewe and James Kelly. So just real quick, I'll go through. I just wanted to say hello to everyone. Claire Williams, hello, welcome. Jeff Peters, welcome. And Scott, thank you for the recipe. I always appreciate that. Oh, Fred's even in here, and he's behind the stage. He's anxious to start talking. Okay, yeah, we'll get a move on too. Hi, Polly Rotterman. And hey, if you guys haven't checked out some of her, she's got some amazing experiences. So definitely look her up if you haven't. So now without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guests for this evening. Like I said, they're definitely I've gotten to know a lot about this because Fred Zewe, who's he's with MUFON, and I was explaining this earlier. I'll keep it really short, but I'm very sentimental because he was there since like day one of my whole starting of this, and so it's helped me really, see the way. So tonight we have the great honor of having a MUFON investigator, assistant director, and we also have the person who wrote the book who was reported it to MUFON, and Fred was actually his investigator. So you can hear both takes on it, and you have the opportunity to ask both parties, which is super cool. Super cool. How often does that happen? But yes, so I like I said, without further ado, Fred's out. He's the assistant director of Nebraska. I should give him a proper introduction, and a team member with Experiencers Research Team, the ERT, which he consults with UFO experiencers who are like talking about their ET experiences and encounters, and that's not an easy job to do. He's there from stage 1 on, and that's like that can that's amazing. So uh James Kelly, like you said, he filed his report with MUFON and Fred Zewe. He was the investigator of the case. So from encounters to spiritual awakening, Fred he's great about questions like that. Graduated of Iowa State University, major in elementary education, minor in mathematics. He's a whiz in mathematics, let me tell you. And he's amazing. He's amazing, and I can let him, because he goes in, he like his story is amazing in itself. But I'll let James Kelly. He was born. He's our second wonderful guest. He's the one that was the experiencer, and Fred was there, and they're kind of a team now, so they're pretty cool. James Kelly was born in Norfolk, Utah, in 1966. His first encounter with ET beings occurred at the age of 6. Oh, so he's a childhood experiencer, yes, where he was taken aboard the spacecraft and benevolent being Lauren. So she introduced him to home world. I'm going to have him pronounce all that for you because I do not want to mispronounce it. So he's going to really talk about his experiences and all the parts that come into play. There's not just, I mean, there's an emotional piece to it. So without further ado, I'm going to bring our wonderful guest, Fred Zewe, MUFON investigator, assistant director at that. That's pretty awesome. And James Kelly. So here we are. We're all like squeezed in the top row here, but I just I just wanted to open it up because really just telling somebody's background is not really giving them. So I would, introduce yourself to the people. Tell them who James Kelly is. Like,
Well, it's been a long lifetime experience as I've been an experiencer, like you said, from the age of 6 and till the present. Um, I have been experiencing with the Arcturian people. I've been to their planet, but I've also been visited by the Greys, which is not such a great experience. And so we'll talk a lot about that today. But the Greys have pretty much taken over my life. And until I met Fred, I didn't have anybody to talk to or anybody to go to. And I kept it in my life since I was 6 until now. And he helped me open up and helped me share this with people who had nowhere else to go. And so I actually developed a business called Lone Believers where people can actually come and talk in a safe place that they can share their experiences and help them in a mental state go on with their life and be able to be normal in the world that's unnormal.
so true too. It's hard to make sense out of, and I appreciate your work because that's really needed. I've say it and I'll say it time and time again. The way to this is through trauma, and you're going to have to do some real hard work to get there. And I'm still a work in progress. You can ask Fred that. He'll tell you. Who's giving me a lecture about organization behind. I was like, Fred, you're not. I try, but maybe someday. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Fred, introduce yourself. I know a lot of the people in the chat, they seem to know you, so I'm assuming that's pretty cool. So
Yeah. Grew up in central Iowa, Marshalltown, Iowa, little blue town, very blue collar, just my style, So it's a family affair with cousins out the wazoo and things of that nature. Big family oriented type person. So having James and Cully here, this is our own, or kind of like our ET spiritual group, So it's fun having being accompanied by these folks. So it's always fun the gathering of like-mindedness and being able to talk about our encounters and our experiences and things that you just can't talk about this stuff on just going out to the grocery store. Hey, there's an alien over there. People they just would just go, what are you guys talking about? So it's fun. It's fun but you can chase a lot of people away. So that's one nice thing about it when you don't want to deal with certain people and you just start talking your alien crap, and then they just like, what the hell?
running out
Off they
the
go,
door.
off they run, as well as girlfriends and things of that nature. You can start talking about your encounters with the Greys, and they just like, uh, this guy ain't right, and so we get all the backslashes, and then even with MUFON and with ERT, he says I get to talk with all the crazies, jokingly, because we know what basket we're in, and how we
Yeah.
get labeled, and I James and I think we hit it off when we started talking. I found James was a Marine, and I said I've got 37 years with the Air Force, so we were like fist bumping, and having a good
Yeah.
time. And it's like, what did you do as a Marine? And I did this, blah, blah, blah. Where'd you go around the world? And what did you see? And what did you do? And blah, blah, blah. Like, man, we had more fun talking about our lifetimes, outside of the UFO ET experience. And so I think we bonded greatly with our military background. And I really have to say that James has gone through the grinder. I mean, literally the grinder when it comes to psychological aspects as being in the Marine. And I blatantly will say, I ask him all the poignant questions about who he is and was as a Marine. I said, where'd you go? He says, oh, I was stationed in Afghanistan. Like, oh no. And of course, the Marine always a Marine, and they'll do what they need to do. And I said, what did you do? And he says, oh, I'm a sharpshooter. I'm like, and then he tells me, uh, I've got a 10th grade black belt. I'm like, you ought to be kicking ass, dude. And
Yeah.
here, and then I'm talking to James, and he's like, uh, I'm really scared to talk about this stuff. And when he was encountering the Grays, I said, why didn't you go and kick their ass? You got a 10th grade black belt. He said, but then I read his book, and as that 6-year-old, that little boy, that little 8-year-old boy, got hit with the Grays, and your spine is just frightened to the nth degree. So James had a lot of time to going through it. So when I first met James, and when he sent his report in to MUFON on August 2nd of 2023, which is almost, I told James, it's almost been 2 years that we've been together, chit chatting, talking, and running and on. I just finally got to know James even more so this last month, because he finished his second book, and I read through it. I was kind of a beta reader, hopefully a successful beta reader. Not
Yeah, you're fine.
What's a
You're fine.
beta reader? Well, you
it,
said
Yeah.
it before, and I was gonna Google it, but what's a beta
I,
reader?
A
I
beta
I didn't
reader
know.
You
is
sleep on
actually
the
I,
book?
no,
I
it's
wanna know
yeah,
what I don't
it's
know what a
actually
beta reader is. Is this
it's
stupid?
actually somebody who actually will read the book and go
Oh.
through and make any changes. They'll say, "Well, this chapter doesn't match this chapter. Can you change it?"
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I'll come
Fred does
back
have
and
that kind of brain. Yeah, I
re-edit it.
get
So
it.
he's one of 6 people that
Thank
were my beta readers,
oh, nice.
and so
I'm
now
not
he
the
needs
only
to.
one.
No, sorry, Fred. Love you, but
He
no,
does. He's got a no. He's got a very, very like his level of thinking
it's
is
different.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah,
yeah, definitely, definitely,
yeah.
and he catches all like the pieces of
I'm,
history
I'm
like
the
you do
I'm
the
the
mind.
comma god. I told James
Yeah.
he's the comma god, and I took them all out.
I believe
Sorry.
that.
Yeah, I mean, put it in there. If it's not there, you can always take it out later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
James was just. I mean, when I first met him and speaking to him on the phone, he was just pretty apprehensive, and like, what was funny about it, James, I've told James, his report went to some guy in Montana and another guy over in Colorado, and then it came to me. I was the third MUFON field investor to get assigned to it, and I think
Oh wow.
I was destined that I was to talk to James.
Yeah.
So it went through that whole gambit of who, what, when, and where, and these guys couldn't do it. But when I first started talking to James, it was like stink on crap, right?
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
you instantly because I remember you reaching out because Fred always includes me in the monthly like MUFON in Nebraska, like when they do their
yeah,
thing. So he'll usually send that. And he's reached out and he's like, you told me the story and then like everything and that you guys, instantly it sounded like you hit it off. That's how I was with
Yeah,
you. Like instantly, like we jumped in there and it was cool because he's like was my leader.
yeah.
And
yeah.
he
Oh, well,
and
James,
from
James just did not. He didn't. I found out he never really talked to anybody about his encounters, and he's like
right.
late 50s. I'm like, what? You know, and of course, being in the military, you just zip your mouth. You know,
Yeah.
you don't talk about that stuff because you're going to get chastised, thrown in the showers, and whatever.
Yeah.
And you're going to take a hit one way or another if you open yourself up to that. Because I did, and with my military, and I got chastised. I got
Mm.
thrown in the corner. I've got, they just
Mm-hmm.
go,
Yeah.
Fred's a great worker.
Yeah.
He's smart. He's great worker. He's a nice guy and everything. But man, he's got this craziness about
Oh my
aliens and
So
goodness.
ETs.
crazy.
Yeah,
I
he's like,
know, I
I mean,
know.
I had guys come up to me and literally tell me, "You are nuts. You're just full of crap." What are you guys talking? What are you talking about? I've had guys that walked out. I should start talking about UFOs. I have guys walk out of the room because they don't want to talk about all the things that we've been interrelating with. So
There's
here,
people that
James.
have utter hatred, like when it comes towards stuff
Oh
like
yeah.
Oh,
that.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
oh
Yeah.
yeah,
settle
that's
down.
Yeah. It looks
you'll find your true friends.
Yes, you
that's true.
do.
Yeah. It looks like Polly had a question. What made me decide when was the right moment to start sharing my story? Oh goodness.
Can I give you a little background on Polly? She's
Sure.
wonderful. She's in Israel. So she's
Oh okay.
dealing with like a whole level of compound like of alarms too. And she's an experiencer. She's just kind of started to come out with her story. So she's probably curious, and kind of connecting with yours because now she's
Okay.
doing a ton of podcasts and I mean like she's doing leaps and bounds. So yeah, that's kind of a little piece of she's wonderful. She really is. So she's definitely connecting with you on like that part of it.
Part of it.
Because
Yeah.
you were
It was.
6. Yeah.
Yeah. I was 6, and I was having good experiences with the Arcturians, um, because I'm a star seed, and it was a really great experience with them. But then I got into the Greys, and it wasn't such a great experience, where I was experimented on, and it was painful and traumatizing, and tons of post-traumatic stress disorder. And what made me decide to do this is Fred. We talked one night, and as we talked, I just started having panic attack after panic attack, and he's like, "Breathe. You're James. You're calm. Just calm down. You're okay." And then I started getting headaches, and I started getting ill, and I'm just like, it's time. It's really time. So I actually sat my wife down, who I've been married for 30 years, never knew anything. I never talked to her about it. Well, I left what's called breadcrumbs. So
Right.
hopefully she could connect the dots, but she never did. And so when I actually talked with her, um, it didn't go over real well at first. She kind of kept it to herself. She
Yeah.
basically thought I had the delusional disorder, which eh, it's
Oh
okay.
boy, can I
Yeah,
relate? Yeah.
that started off the marriage good. And so, but the more I talked to her, and the more I said, "Well, do you remember how I used to be scared to go down into my parents' basement?" She goes, "Yeah, I do remember that. Do you remember when I went outside and I would shake all the time? Do you remember?" And I started going through the little breadcrumbs until she's like, "James, I think something's happened to you." And then
Hmm.
she started opening up more and asking me questions, and now she's on board, as much as she can be on board, being a wife, because she has seen UFOs, but she's never seen, um, different races. She's just never
Right.
had that experience. But and then I sat down on my computer and I'm like, okay, I'm going to line out how I'm going to do this. And my wife is a best-selling author. She has 10 books, so she taught me how to write books,
Oh
and
wow.
we just did it. And then she says, okay, there you go, do your thing. And so I just sat at my desk shaking and crying. I did a lot of crying, and I'm not afraid to say it. I did a lot of crying,
Yeah.
and it was a great release. As I wrote
It's
these
healing.
chapters, tears would just come, and flashbacks and things like that. But it was actually good. By the time I
Hmm.
was done with my book, I was ready. I
That's
was ready to.
awesome. I was a mental health therapist for 7 years, and I said, at what point did crying become a bad thing? Because it's a cathartic
Yeah,
release. It's what you have to do to go through it. And
yeah,
it's like now it's like, oh, he's crying and he's crazy. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
it just it's hard for other people to really understand what that'd be like going through. And I get it because I've been there that day one too. Like, what I said, I remember I contacted Dave Creeder and MUFON. That's how it got started. And I said, "What's the level 2?" Now that he's like, "We don't have one." And I was like, "What?" What do you mean we don't? Well, you got to have the level 2. Because this is
Yeah.
like once you have that happening. And how did you stay conscious during that time? It's
Uh,
hard.
it's really hard. I almost didn't. I mean, I tried to kill myself a couple of times. I mean, to the point that I had the gun chamber, I was ready to pull the trigger. And because it's hard, it's really hard dealing with all this where you try to talk to somebody and they're always saying, well, only crazy people believe in that, and there's no such thing as life away from this planet. Well, if you really look at it, and there's billions of galaxies and billions of stars and planets, and we're the only one, the odds of that happening is pretty low. But I dealt with it in my own way. When I was a child, I had action figures that I would talk to, and I would go in my closet and shut the door, and I would talk with them and bare my soul to them, and they never judged me. They only listened. And I have them right here. I can look at them. They're on my desk, and to this day,
That's awesome.
they sit on my desk, and they're a reminder of times that I actually went through. It was hard keeping it all together. It really was. What actually helped me is my star mother. She's an Octorian. Her name is Lauren, and I have a star sister, Sari, who is about my age, I guess. I'm assuming they live for thousands of years, so I'm
Oh yeah.
assuming she's in that. But they really helped me through everything. And just recently, about a month ago, I had the experience of starting my own journey with a little boy, teaching him how to be a star child.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, his name is Jonas. And I spent a couple of days in Octorius with him, and it was a great feeling because I knew what he was going through and I knew what he was experiencing, and to share my level of understanding with him. It was I have come full circle now. And now, instead of being scared, I stand up for who I am and I know who I am. And now I push the grays away. I've learned to push the grays away. They have no bearing on me anymore. So it's kind of come
That's
a whole full
huge.
circle. Yeah, it's
That's
huge.
huge.
And they're scared of me. The normal grays are scared of me. The last time they actually came, I stood up and telepathically pushed them to the ground, and they haven't been back since. And so they're really quite scared of me, and they know who I am. And
Oh yeah.
so, anyway, sorry, that was kind of a long answer to
No,
that
no.
question,
Yeah,
but
but that's been 2 years of intense study and intense
yeah,
self empowerment for you.
It's so
yeah,
true because you have to explain it. I said sometimes I'll get lost because I've learned so much and then I don't take it and explain, to somebody and give them that. Like what you're
mhm,
doing is wonderful. Like, just
mhm,
it's like it helps for especially there's not an experiencer out there that doesn't remember like those, first moments in this that you start to recall. It's just I
yeah,
remember I, like, hit the wall. I, like, went against the wall. I was like, "Whoa, like, what was that?" It was
mhm,
just like a flash, and Fred Fred would I'll thank Fred for that because
Oh yeah, it's kind of like too with James with you, Chloe, that James was just like in his shell. I said, James, so I had told him a few of my stories, just to like any ATU experience, when you tell your story, and I was able to tell James some of my story, he kind of relaxed, like, God, this guy gets it. He's had his
Mhm.
experience, he's had experience with the Greys. I mean, I was pulled up through the ceiling by a blue vortex up through my bedroom ceilings, and I was in Milden Hall, England. I ended up being over in Okinawa, over in my home in Omaha, and then released back to Milden Hall, England. I was able to push my arm through the walls and things of that nature. So I would tell James all my crazy stories, so he felt a little bit better, that I was involved with the Greys and things of that nature. So he kind of, but then I kind of like James. He's like, just just, take a breath, and I told him when he was starting having the headaches and things like that, I said, you're hitting the belief pattern that you're on the, I'm telling him in post-hypnotic suggestions that graciously, you're not to talk about it. You're supposed to zip mouth, you're not
Yeah.
supposed to talk. So the headaches is the resistance that was created by his post traumatic or post hypnotic suggestions by the grays, so I had that same feeling. I went through 25 minutes of regression, and all that came out of me is like, I'm not supposed to talk about it, you know.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So
Well, you
I
and you have
told,
that element too, because you've always said as long as it's not about propulsion or I can't remember
yeah,
what the other role was, you could talk about it. So I
nothing
you
like,
had Fred's got some deep clear. You've got some high clearances. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
James
So
and I
that's
both do. We're both,
yes.
Yeah.
that was the whole thing. We're both, James and I both had top secret and above, so
Yeah.
we
I
had a,
actually, once I started sharing my story and my book was released, I had a really scary encounter with two men in black suits knocking on my door,
yeah.
and that lasted for almost a year. That they were so.
Oh, they
Um,
terrorize.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's another point that we could go into, but to go back over Polly, the Greys actually with the hybridization, the reason the abductions have picked up in their younger people is because our DNA is actually corrupted,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
they want pure DNA of star children, and they want to be able to use that DNA to increase the hybridization. So what I was told is the DNA that is on Earth right now is corrupted and can't be used anymore. That way, that's why all of the abductions that are happening now are children or young people. It's not the older people. Not sorry, Fred. It's not the older people anymore. And so
I'm an
it's like,
old starseed.
Oh yeah, new generation. Do you know what I was told? I asked. I remember the first time, and I had five around me, grays. They were short, and I asked them why. I could see myself, so and then I could see them through. So I had an out of body experience. I'm assuming, but I remember asking them, like in my head, I was like, why is a part of me because I saw it was on the table, and they said because of contamination. I mean,
yeah,
you don't get like they're not in like for conversation, you just kind of get
nope.
real short. Like, so
Hmm.
that's really crazy that you say that because I had a similar experience with them. So I'm assuming and something to do with our sequencing and resequencing. So like the
Yeah,
collective basically. So it's a lot. Like that's a lot to definitely take on. So wow. Wow.
yeah, it is. When I was on the ship with the Greys, I looked over and I saw this monitor, and you could see my DNA, but there was places in my DNA that were glowing orange and yellow,
That's interesting.
and that's what they wanted. They don't care about the rest. That's what they want, Chloe. Is they want the pure DNA. They want what's going
Mhm.
on now. So it's yeah.
So
So
what's your like I always say that like my missions I'm here for communication. That's what they told me. So I what do you think that all of this like what do you think your mission is? Because you've got some pretty extraordinary contact. And like
yeah,
sometimes I can tell that talking about this, I mean just by talking to you, like I can feel that like because this is really I mean, oh man, it is a lot to digest, a lot. Yes.
yeah, it is. My mission here on Earth is I had the choice of when I was an Octurian to come here and experience being here as an Earth person and to be able to experience all the problems and everything else. But through all of my experience with the Arcturians, they have taken me and they were able to teach me telepathy, teach me how to empower myself, teach me energy transfer, teaching me energy light, how to give light. Um, and Holly, I love my wife and I really want her to believe me, but she's on her own path.
Mm-hmm.
And one day she brought this plant home, and it was a basil plant, and it was horrible. It was dying. And I didn't say anything. I just took the plant and I sat on the back porch and I put my hands on each side of it. And I just focused and shared my healing onto it. And when she woke up the next morning, the plant was perfectly healthy. And she's like, what did you do? And that's when I started opening up just a little bit about, you know, what I have been given. And I have been taught by the Octurians. I've been taught by Orla. I've been taught by all kinds of different people on how to use and be loved. Um, I'm in therapy, and I'm not too ashamed to tell people I'm in therapy because it helps bring things out and helps with things. But I was getting out of therapy and I was walking by, and this happened Tuesday. And this lady was sitting in the chair, and I walked by her, and I was overwhelmed with a feeling of sadness and dread and just misery. And I'm like, don't stop, just walk out the door. And I got to the door and I stopped and I turned and I started crying. And I said, are you okay? And she looked up at me and says, no. I'm like, I know what you're feeling. I know how you're feeling. Would it be okay if I just touched your hand? And I touched her hand and I transferred as much energy of love and compassion that I can. And her face just lit up and her eyes just looked up at me and a tear rolled down her face. And she said, thank you. And just right then, the therapist walked out and I just got up, smiled at her and left. But as I went to therapy the very next week, they brought that up. My therapist was like, well, what did you talk to her about? I'm like, no, I just talking to her and I was kind of light about it. And she says, you were incredible that you gave her peace that she hasn't felt since she was a child. And that's what I was taught through many years through the Octurians is peace, love. And now this is my mission now is to give people like yourself, Chloe, Fred, everybody peace and love and a safe place to go to be experienced. Because in this world, we're a round peg being pounded into a square hole and it's hard. It's hard sometimes. So,
Yeah.
um,
I always know what it's like not to fit in because I started seeing spirits at like 5, but it didn't have the ET element until much later. So
yeah,
it's still, you're like kind of like an outsider, you know, on things. You can't be completely honest about what's going on because it scares people, some people, you know. It's like
yeah,
my mom was, I've said this very openly, she's going to call a priest. Not to mention your community
yep,
then like thinks you're, you know, I can't tell you some of the stuff. I made my way on local police intel over this, and they said it's conspiracy theories because a show. Are you for real? Like, isn't there a crime? I'm sorry, there's got to be a bigger crime than my podcast, but it got taken, and it puts you
yep,
right on the line.
yep,
But you have the choice. You know, it's like that. Your
yeah.
whole life changes from that point on. Your life is totally different. But you're
It
6 years
is.
old.
It changed, and the older I got, and the more that I was taught the Arcturian lifestyle,
Mhm.
because they are at a level 11 in celestial spirituality, where God or the Creator, as I like to call him, is on a 15. And so
What are we
their
on?
job is to help us get to
Yeah.
the second Earth, to
Please
be able.
help us.
Yeah, they're kind of, yeah,
Go with
and
a hand,
yeah,
like for
we're
real.
bad. Yeah, so and I mean that's their job basically, you know, to help us without helping us, and yeah, to be able to do that. But yeah, it was
Yeah,
tough when I was little. I mean, what do you do when you're little? I mean, I talked to my mom, and my mom was a psychologist, and she used to say, Jimmy, it's just a bad dream. It's just a bad. You want a cookie? It's just a bad dream.
Well,
And
that's
she
just
would
like,
never listen.
come on. That's
yeah.
just like substituting and rubbing, just rubbing it over the top of it, as a pacifier, and I just hate that. I hated that for you, Jade, when I read your story. Your mom just kicked you to the curb, so to speak, and said, "Oh, that's all right, son. Just forget about it. They're worse than the Greys telling you to forget it, and
So did my
and stuff
mom. Yeah.
stuff your
Shame
emotions."
on her
And
too. Yeah.
she's the psychologist, like stuff it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
no, 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 no.
yeah.
With a nice,
Since
yeah,
my book has come out, I have lost friends. I have lost family members. Unfortunately, one of my wife's sisters, ugh, she's called me to repentance, and I'm a demon, and
Oh
I'm
boy.
crazy, and
Yeah,
I
those.
need I need to find the church. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. Trust me. After we die, you're going to get a big surprise because there's going to be a lot of different colored people around. And but
It's bad enough even too, James. I went spiritual and I was going, I was going to the guru and, seeing Sai Baba, Guru Mai from the Siddha Yoga Path, and you start going down. I mean, I was just doing spiritual stuff and I get thrown to the corner, on that front,
yeah,
and so that was really nice for me. But then the Grays came in and I like,
yeah,
what are these? I said, what do they do with my life? They don't need to be in my life, but then you have all these experiences, coming through, and all of a sudden you see little snippets, you don't get the whole thing and you only get told so much. I said, what are the Grays doing here? And I always thought, are they bad? Are they good? Well,
yeah,
for James and I think they've kind of been bad because I only go up through the ceiling and I forget. They just
yeah,
I'm done. And there's a fear of mine
Yeah.
within me, evidently that I still haven't dealt with. So, but I
yeah,
still want to be able to, like James, just wide open. I just want to see everything. I don't care, but I've had some fear that came up. It was traumatizing fear that just came up between my legs one time. I did some hypnosis and I felt I was going to die. I was
yeah,
experiencing a death, and that was that was just a trauma of hitting my head against the curb when I was a 6-year-old. And I think I died, but I came back. I think I had a near death experience and whole get go when I was 6 years old. But that's kind
Wow.
of like all the great psychics in the world, always have some sort of head trauma, one way
I've
or
got
another.
yeah,
something that's on an MRI that looks like a kidney bean in my brain. It's been there since they found it when I was young.
Uh,
But I drove with a
you
dead man. Well, guy died driving and when I was that age. So I thought I was gonna die. Legitimately I didn't scream or yell. I was just like back. So
know,
that's interesting that you guys did too. That's one of the requirements. Like I'm telling you. I just wanted to say
yeah,
real quick too, Scott Rosin, he's in here and he's a fellow military. So he's really been supporting you along the way and telling you that
okay,
hey yeah, Vietnam and that crying's okay, like he gets it.
yeah,
So I just wanted to say that too.
yeah.
So he's
That means a
great.
lot to me coming from you because I've went through some stuff, but I didn't go through anything like you did. Crying helps; it really does, and it's taken me a long time to be able to let that go. But
and
being,
even on the healing point, if when everybody gets into your breath work and meditations, there
yeah,
you'll go through these guttural cries. I mean, deep guttural cries. I was like, where the hell are these coming from?
yeah,
And it's the release of all this other trauma. And then eventually they'll get into the hysterical laughter if you do your breath work with your
yeah,
meditations and things of that nature. And then you go in between, you know, the hysterical laughter to the emotional, deep guttural
yeah,
crying back and forth
yeah,
back and forth
yeah,
between the two, because you don't know what's coming up, So, but yeah, it's all part of it. And I think too, we have to deal with both sides in order to let go, so that we can transcend to the higher dimensional levels. Because
yeah,
if you stuff the fear, you gotta go through it. You have to go through it in order to ascend. So,
There's no way.
yeah, yeah.
yep.
It's I was warned from the beginning too because I started getting into like cryptology and steganography, and they're like, the truth is a path walked alone, and it really is because we're all, even though we're all at different
Yeah,
places, it's just like it's a continuing like evolving. Like, and you do see the state. Do you see now, like looking back now that you're 2 years out of really talking about it and seeing people who are just experiencing this or just talking about it? I'm sure like even the work that you've done, it's like and then you gotta too stay, like you said, you're seeing somebody, that's good because
yeah,
you're absorbing the amount of energy and emotion I just saw you absorb right now. Because
yeah. It's
negative, the energy starts with the negative, and we gotta process and ground that, and we were the ones that turn it in, like the star seeds and the light bearers. Like I've been doing all this stuff, what you're saying clicks with me, and I'm just like, wow, I just got, it's just been recently, like those downloads come in. But so
yeah,
that's amazing, yeah. So
yeah,
how do you deal with that? I don't I get why and the pendulum and, how are you absorbing these and really staying good yourself, like, through this journey?
It's, I mean, sometimes it's hard. It's really hard, and I have to go home and really, I put on a frequency. My body really reacts to 435 megahertz frequencies. So
Mm.
I'll
Oh,
sit
it's
and I'll turn
435 or 428?
435.
Which one do
435 for
you
you.
get, Fred? I still go with the shamans that you gave me.
Well,
Yeah,
there's the 428, and
yeah,
then the rest, like some of the
Is that a good
120.
one?
Yeah, there's all kinds of them.
yeah.
You can all you
About
have to do
they're
is go
about
to
the
Yeah,
same.
YouTube,
dude, you have to
go to
send me a.
YouTube and click on the frequencies, 432,
Yeah, you
and
get
da
on
da da.
YouTube and be able to.
Yeah, but
Um,
half the time, some guy like you're like it turns into some sort of. I'm a little cautious about. I couldn't open my eyes one time. It was like a hypnotic one. And I
I'll
fall under
send.
hypnosis quick.
Oh, I'll
You
send
send
you a
me
couple.
stuff that are
Yeah,
safe.
they're really
Yeah.
good, and yeah, I'll come and just meditate and spend hours. And sometimes when I meditate, I hear Lauren, and she will say Melio, because that's my star seed name. It means little one, and she always calls me little one, even though I'm 58 years old. To
It's
her,
gentle.
Yeah.
I'm the little 6-year-old. But I will hear her transitions going through my mind, and she will tell me how proud she is of me and different things. And once I get done with meditation, I write it down, and I have a whole binder of things. Fred's read some of them in my book.
Yeah.
Um, but that's how I deal with it. I try to push it off, or if I know I'm going to the store,
Mm.
okay, I need to block everything that happens.
Yeah, you're gonna absorb
Um,
everything.
and,
Wow.
and and I do, and I can
Do you
tell.
avoid crowds of people? I
I do.
mean,
I hate
yeah, I
crowds.
bet.
I completely. I won't even go to family reunions.
I
Well,
don't think you could. You're too
for two
sensitive.
reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so they don't want me there anyway. And so,
And
but I try to avoid crowds the best I can. I like going to Disneyland, but it I have to
Oh.
prepare myself because
Yeah, like lots of pep
it's
talks. Yeah,
yeah,
I get it. I get it.
to be able to deal with it. And since I've opened myself up to the energy of the universe and I share everything, and I've let my trauma and my bad feelings and everything out there, and now the universe is dealing with it. Um,
Yeah.
One thing that I did when I was 8 years old, there was I used to call, well, my mom called them nightmares. I called them the furnace people. And what the furnace people were, they were grays, and they actually did come out of my basement. And there was a portal next to my furnace. Um, and I was very scared because they would come and get me. And one night, I was in bed, and I thought as a child I could lay really flat and cover my head up, have the little air hole. I
Mhm.
think everybody's done that when
I
they've been
sleep
scared.
like that still. I sleep and
Yeah,
it concerns my like son. He'll be like, I don't know how you breathe under there, and I'm
yeah.
like,
So it's
yeah, oh yeah,
and just to be safe, and just one night I just felt something was going to happen, so I got up and went in my parents' bed. And my dad's ex-military. He's like, "Go back to your bed. You're old. Go
yeah.
back to your bed." And I'm
He
like, "No,
plain words.
please." And
Yeah.
mom let me do what I wanted. So I got into the middle of them, and during the night I woke up and they were standing at the foot of my parents' bed, three grays. And I grabbed onto my parents and I'm like, "I'm not going anywhere with you." And they showed me an image in my mind of them stabbing to death my parents and
Hey.
taking me. And they took me. And I was actually physically pulling my parents out of bed with me because they were taking me. And so I've had to learn to get rid of all of this anger and frustration and learn how to deal with all of this stuff over the years. And to the point now, it's just like, yeah, I'll talk to you about it. I'll talk to you about things Fred doesn't even know. And,
What
you
do you
know,
think? I've heard a lot of testimonies like from people that talk about their parents being closely affiliated with the military and having. Do you think some of this is like Black Budget Project? Do you think some of it is like any sort of government experimentation? I have to ask, like, because that's
I,
pretty scary.
all I know is I know what goes on the dark side of the moon. I know what goes on there. And when I started to make that public is when I started being threatened by the military,
Mhm.
and the men in black. It was. I mean, they were telling me on the phone, "I know where your kids go to school. I know where your wife works.
Oh yeah,
You know, James, you're awfully young. You know, I'd hate for something to happen to you."
Yeah.
So it's just like,
my
you
cat
know,
was dead at my doorstep, and a SIM card went missing out of my car or out of my phone, and I busted my phone. I was like prying it. I was like, it's got to be in there. It's got to be in there. And it was
yeah,
so intense. Like my accounts were getting hacked. It was just like one thing
yeah,
after another, and then I was was followed by an SUV. This time, like the internet, it's
hmm,
during that time, and I'm like, man, I told my neighbor, I was like, pull the battery, and this is when you could pull batteries out and this stuff, and they were like screenshotting my location, but it was just like maybe a quarter mile off. And I
yeah.
mean, it's scary. That's
It
scary.
is my doorbell SIM card, the ring
Uh,
bells or whatever there is missing. I had to buy
yeah.
a new. I had to buy a new one. I have three cameras that are outside. All three cameras are gone,
Wow.
and so it's like, what do they not want me to see or
Hmm.
share to be able to do these things? And so
When
it's
the men in black came and knocked at James's door, and I asked him, well, did they wear a uniform or were they a regular suit? He says, yeah, regular suit, black shoes, they've got the same haircut, blah blah blah, the same blah blah blah. They talk the same and everything. I thought I was really inquisitive on that. I was like, what did they did? Again, they threatened James, and they addressed him by Sergeant, Kelly, and down the road of all the things he did in the military with
Manchurian
his wife
candidate.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
all the kids said, we know exactly what's going on in your life, your kid's life, and your wife.
Mhm.
And then previous to that, a couple of days, about a week prior, I wrote James a email and I said, James, you know, I don't know how far down the rabbit hole James has gone. I said,
Yeah.
your resume, as I look at it, speaks highly of the SSP, the Secret Space Program. I said, man, if you don't fit the Secret Space Program, I don't know what does. And I said, here's a
Nailed it.
little
yeah,
video if you want a little P and Q. So I sent it to him, and I told James later on. I talked to him and said, well, you can delete it if you don't think it resonates because it's too
Hmm.
early for you, maybe. Because I was pushing the envelope with James, and he's just like scared to death. I'm like, it's like frozen, like, and so, and then that's when the boys, the men in black came because they're reading their emails, we're talking
oh yeah,
about the SSP,
Yeah.
and all this and that, and
Yeah.
then
Trigger word.
and at the very end, so James says yada 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 yada, and then James says they asked me three questions. And I said, really? And I said, well, what were those, James? First one is, and as I was talking to James on the very first
You
time, I said,
value your life. Yeah.
you know, so I was telling James, after our first talk, I said, James, you might have some dreams that come to you really quick because what you've done is it's okay to talk about it and it's okay to remember. So I gave him that seed to say, you can start remembering. And then James, about 4 days later, calls me and goes, Fred, I had this dream. And I was I was outside in this dream and I looked up and there was the craft. There was the craft. And he drew me the picture. He said, I knew exactly what the craft was like. He drew the picture to me, sent it to me, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's like this little V shape with a little kind of like an A-frame type thing going on in the middle
Oh,
of it.
wow.
And I'm like, oh, that's cool, James. And then what happened? Then after that, James said, oh, I was on the craft. I'm like, what? I said,
You see if
yeah.
he could trust you, yeah. And you're
yeah,
And then,
luckily like an experiencer, and you're so, I mean, you're so
so he's on the
knowledgeable.
yeah.
craft, and he goes, he said, I saw the grays, and they were there, and then all of a sudden this 7-8 foot ginormous woman that's kind of gray shape, but beautiful on top and everything, gorgeous, and she came walking up and telling James like da 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 da, and then she says, "I gotta have sex, James," and James goes, "Oh hell no, I'm married and I'm LDS and I'm this and this, and no, we're not." And I jokingly kind of said to James like, "What happened? What happened after that, James?" I don't know. I woke up. I'm like,
I don't
exactly.
remember.
Yeah, right there. It's like putting together. That's where Fred really helped me because I was really stuck on those memories. I have these, and it's Fred's like,
Mhm.
no, Fred's, and then he does push you in an area that's uncomfortable, and I'd be like, so, and I knew that when I called Fred that I was going to be ready to do some self reflection and growth because he's very, very good at that. And he still does. It's like he puts you right
Yeah.
and I'm like, man, you're
Then
good.
he had these three questions, you know, and so they asked the MIBs asked James these three questions. I'm going, what were they, James? The first one was, what do you know about the craft that you were on?
Yep.
Ding, you know, I'm like, oh. And then he goes, what's the second question? James says, what do you know about portals? Ding, ding, ding. And the third question was, what do you know what's going on activity on the backside of the moon? I said, James, if that's not SSP, I don't know what is it, you know?
Oh God.
Yeah.
He's right. He's
You're talking
right.
Yeah.
about portals, you're talking about black side of the moon,
Yeah.
you're talking about the craft. So I'm looking at the craft. So James is on a craft that
Right.
just has, you know, 0 point energy type generation, you know, for propulsion system. James just fits the mold. Like here he is, he's a trained killer already in the Marines, you know, with a
Yeah.
10,
And they're
10
checking
3, 10
you.
3
Right.
black belt. And James, I read his
Oh,
book, he says, in his one of his was it Ed? What was Ed? I forget Ed's last name. He said,
Ed Parker.
yeah, with he's with the what kind of what's the name of the
He formed the International Kempo Karate Association.
Kempo,
oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he saw James fight one time, and he walks up to James and says, "You're a natural, you're an absolute natural," and he brings James coerced him and come in to be part of
Yeah.
his group and study
Yeah.
and him and here's James fighting with his seventh degree black belt, and he put him to the dirt, and everybody's like, "What? Holy
You
crap!"
know, there's
And
some crazy thing though that comes along with being an experiencer. I remember turning around and my precision, it was like a ninja. So I mean, at
yeah,
6, like to think about that, like Fred, you're good. Like you play ping pong. You're like, an energy. You're always out doing something and some exercise.
my hand to eye movement is incredible. It's like,
Yeah.
you know,
And Fred has
it's
a like
there, it's that quick, you
abilities.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's
You
this
know what they
memory, you
are.
know. But again,
Yeah.
it's just this awakening, you know, and I know so much, but yet again, you know, James has lived it, you know, and I've had my own experiences, but yet James has other experiences. Like you said, he probably hasn't even told me half of the stuff he's been through yet, you know. So
Yeah.
James has always it's taken me 2 years to get this far. You know, how much more time do I have to take before I
Well,
get to
Fred,
really
you
know
go
James
through
altogether?
detail by detail and help like build a whole different then your reality of
Mhm.
everything then again is changed and then all the downloads like come
Oh
flooding.
yeah.
Then you got the
Yeah.
yogi stuff and you're so calm and meditative like it's like you've got so many different like
Yeah, you hear
abilities.
all this stuff. You hear all this stuff like, oh yeah, I had this experience where it's taken. I was out of body, found myself out of body, and the next thing I got this like being pulled out through to up above the universe, and the Omaha was
Mhm.
disappearing. The United States was disappearing. And I'm like, what's going on? I think am I being abducted? So I'm kind of cranking my head around to see where the craft was, but then I woke up and because I woke up with my face twisted around in the pillow, and I sabotaged it because I woke my body up and it got
Oh,
pulled.
you were traveling. I forgot you can
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, but then the next night, I went to bed, and then all of a sudden I closed my eyes pretty tired, and there all of a sudden I see this craft. I go, "There's the craft!" And whoosh, off I went, and
You're
the next
there.
thing I know, I see the ceiling, I see this lattice work 3 by 3 type of doorway, and I open it up, and I went up above, and I'm in the void. I'm like, what is this? In this total darkness, in the void. And then all
Oh
of a sudden
yeah.
I heard the voice say, "You are who you are." And I'm like, time out, who are you? What are you saying? And then all of a sudden there was a download of information that I
Yeah.
could not comprehend. It was just way above me. And I kept
Oh
on
no.
going, what's going on? What's going on? Time out, time out. I'm not getting it, guys, blah, blah, blah. And then it ended. And then eventually I said, who are you? And they said, this is your higher self. I'm here to show you something. And then went down and saw this two little animals, four little, crazy little animals. I'm hugging them up and loving them up. And that was the end of my
Mm,
experience. But,
Wow.
people hear about these downloads
they're
and
intense.
then I had a friend of mine, she had a near death experience where she went to the void. And I had to tell her what the void was because she was just ghastly. I'm in the door and I'm all by myself and the void
Yeah.
is there. I'm gonna die. My kids they'll never see me again. I don't want to
It's
die with my kids.
nothingness. It's like
Yeah,
nothingness.
it's
That's all I
it's
can explain it. Yeah.
well, the void is pure creation, pure creation. There's no ego.
Ooh.
It's
I
pure bliss.
experienced it once, and I was in a dark it was like I
Yeah.
transitioned back from an experience, and I was just in complete silence. I mean, that alone was
Yep.
enough. I was like, "I gotta get out of this," because it was like the clocks went from 5, and they blinked 3 times, there was 3 of them, and then they went to 5:50, and I was like, "Whoa, what was that?"
Yeah,
But
it's
right
crazy.
before, yeah, I transitioned into that void Fred likes, I wanted to get the hell out of there.
I
I
know.
feel like
Here
we
we
were
are going to the
trapped.
void, and we don't even have a near-death experience. And yet, this gal had a near-death experience and went to the void. And I said, God, I went there like you and I both, Cody, went to the void without having,
Mhm.
a near-death experience. So what the hey, So we're doing something
Oh,
good.
wow, yeah, I didn't even think about it. You're the only other
Yeah.
person I've heard talk about it. I try to explain it sometimes and, sometimes like, it's subjective, so it's like to everybody it's
There's no polarity. There's no image. That's why
Mhm,
God, there's no image. All it is love.
Yeah.
And it's dark and it's all about you. Everything
mhm.
that void is about you. You are
You can't
you,
escape
just
you, that's the
just like
problem.
my higher self. You are
Yep.
who you are. If you don't have any coercion or any self concept of who you are or what you are, you're not gonna make it.
Mhm,
You're gonna get pulled to the side.
mhm.
You can't be a follower when you go on a spiritual path. You've got to drive your own nails, and you have to be who you are. You got to know where you're going. Or somebody's gonna pull you off to the
Yeah,
side, tantallate you with something to distract you, and the next thing you're back
mhm.
in another lifetime, another
Yeah,
reincarnation
and
cycle. You didn't get it this time,
yeah.
I got you on that one.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear. I'm like, I'm going through all this because 'cause I'm not coming back and doing this again.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
you better be confident in yourself.
that's
That's
the
what I'm saying.
point though that you had. I remember when I was trying to get out of my body, and you got to be prepared for anything because it's like all of a sudden this cryptid lady came down, and I didn't care. I said, I don't care if you're trying to scare me or what. I need a hand out. I'm only part way out. Can you help me? And then she tried to and then when I didn't fear it, it just like went past. But what I realized in like all the people I talked to is that I get too excited, and that's what
Yep.
keeps me down in my body. You see how like I talk about stuff, I'm like animated. I have to learn to put that on a minimal, and that's painful for me. That really is. But
It has
we're
been.
coming up. Yeah, I don't want to end it. We just have to take a break at the top of the hour and come back. Like this is absolutely pick up where we left off. So it's just gonna be a 5 minute break, and like I said, if you have to run, do some whatever, yeah, go ahead to it. But everybody, we will be back with you shortly. And again, Fred's out, and we have James Kelly. So he's got some fascinating information. They both do. So it's such a treat tonight. But yes, we are going to take just a short break, and we will be back shortly. So enjoy, and I.
We drift and we roam, finding our place in the vastness we call home. With courage and wonder, we reach for the light, guided by visions that illuminate the night. Mystery cloaked in the past unknown, truth and discovery seeds we sow. In the starlit wonder, we seek the key to unlock the secrets of our galaxy. Of our galaxy. And with the horizons, our spirits ignite, chasing the dreams that fill the night. The stars are our compass, and time is our friend. Together we'll journey where stories transcend. Mystery cloaked in the vast unknown. Truth and discovery seeds we sow. In the starlit wonder we seek the key to unlock the secrets of our galaxy. Through endless horizons, our spirits ignite, chasing the dreams that the verge of a celestial refine. And with each passing moment, our wisdom grows. In the dance of the unraveling the mysteries, secrets in the night. We travel through the cosmos, ready for the flight. Together we'll shine, casting shadows aside. In the heart of the rhythm where our dreams collide.
Join the Subnation X quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves around us, everything's alright.
From the Subnation X quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves surround us, everything's alright. SNX radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bring shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this roller ring will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the truth is gold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright.
SNX radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spot. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side, we stand hand in hand. In this dance of truth, let the story expand.
And welcome back to SNX Radio. I'm going to welcome Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And if I don't remember the last one, please don't kill me because we just got going on there. So Kick, yep, and Kick. So all questions, putting caps in. I see there's a ton of questions. I want to go back on. And
Yeah.
before I forget, is it okay? But I'm just gonna open up. So Polly and Scott, Scott really connects like the military and Polly getting this going. I'm gonna start a group chat with me, you, Scott, Fred, and Polly, if that's okay, because they got
Sure.
a lot, and I think you guys would be a great connection. So Scott and Polly, I'm going to build a Facebook chat for us. So if I didn't get to the questions, I think you definitely can ask them. But yeah, it's been really cool. They've so much connection like in the chat and everybody. Like I said, I missed some out of context, so I don't want to, kind of pull them. I think that it'd be a good group conversation. So where we left off is Fred is a assistant MUFON director, and he's like the guru. If you didn't catch it before, I definitely recommend going back and starting this from, because there's just so much. And it's really great because I think so many people, and that to me is what's so important, is that you can make that connection and you don't feel alone. Like you're not alone, and you've got so much to offer and help, other people who are there. So, I mean, I applaud you. This is absolutely wonderful.
I want to say
Absolutely.
though too, Coley, that what is life? That's the what's the purpose of life? James and I were both like we're ready to end our life because of the bullshit we're running through. And I said, I didn't sign up for this crap, you know. So
Yeah.
we all have to go through our traumas, all the wrongdoings and all the things, because that's not what it's supposed to be about. And so we have this polarity of in the 3D level, and what I've really come down to it is that everything is love. And what I found that as I meditated, I like James has done, he's got it with the Arcturians, where he goes into an altered state of consciousness, and he's on a planet where I wouldn't want to leave either, man, because there's no money, there's no this, it's all love. It's like, how can we help you? You know, it's all just intensely satisfying and loving. And that's what it's all about. And so the only way I can deal with myself is I meditate and I go to higher states of consciousness, where James and I both know that the divine comes ripping through us. And when the divine comes ripping through us, the energies are just sparkling. I mean, your whole energy. I sometimes my body just turns into light. I have no body. I don't have a feeling of it other than love and joy. And in
Yeah.
the in that one near death experience with the gal that she was a MUFON I should say state director, she eventually had a feeling of guilt that I wasn't worthy of heaven, and there was another being off to the side says, I'm not supposed to be here, but you're going to be okay. And for her to start, it says, it's all about you. And all of a sudden, this big wave of love hit her. And then and she was praying for Jesus to come save her. That was another thing. She prayed and prayed and prayed for Jesus to come. Guess what? Jesus didn't come. I had to say that. But this big wave of love hit her, and that was it. And then she finally got it. She got it. And then she was taken back to her body and recouped. And it took her another 2 years, even to tell her husband, who was a Baptist minister, she was Baptist, she married a Baptist minister, is saying, I asked for Jesus to come, but he didn't come in my near death experience. So I thought that was a big aha moment for her only.
Yeah.
You don't have to take
You're gonna be
verbatim what I
sadly disappointed. Nobody's gonna save you. You got to save yourself. That's a big
exactly.
realization.
That's a big realization. So you are the light, and you're a conduit of the love, which is the divine. And then the reason why there is no image of God, because it's all love. It's nothing physical, in a
See, I
sense.
notice you guys are
None of
more yeah, but you can connect with that love where I think like some people, you know what I'm saying? Like how do you keep that? Cuz I think I need to work on that a little bit. I mean, if
It's
I'm being honest, you know.
yeah. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, you drive on the freeway.
yeah.
It's really
Yeah,
hard,
get out
and
of my
it's
way. I took the 101 every day. I was like,
yeah,
you want to talk about
and
road? Yeah.
it's like it's okay. What I have done is I just take a deep breath. I love that person. It's okay. I love them. No matter their faults, I love them. And it's extremely hard to do. Just the other day, I had to love somebody who was giving me the good old Oklahoma howdy, and it just I love them for who
Yeah,
they
and then I
are,
wanted
and
to
it's
run him
like
over with
okay,
my car. Like I don't know, something
but
flashy.
it's really hard. But you know what you need to do is you need to have love for yourself, and then you need to take that love you have for yourself and give it to others. You need to give it unconditionally.
You know what I do? And I do that. But I could clear, I'm not joking you. I've gotten to the point. And I got to learn how to not do this, but I come in like no silent. I mean, I come in with a boom. And so I just like, for me, it's like, I want to be like, okay, you've not learned your lesson. Get out of my way, out of my, I just I need to
Yeah.
back up. And because you have to have tolerance. And I know that some of mine are just like,
Well,
it's
I was going
hard.
to say this. I was going to say this, Coley. What you say to yourself, to others, you say to yourself. So you're telling yourself, get out of the way. No, that's not what you need to say. You want to say. So what I say, I always tell myself calm confidence. I learned that from Caesar Malone training dogs. You need to stay in a calm confidence position.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you emanate this feeling. And so as you drive down the road and you see this guy who buzzes through, the light traffic, I'm going, wake up. I tell the person, wake up to the light, wake up to the love.
Yeah,
You
it's
don't
harder
get
for
mad at
some
the guy.
people
So
though,
what
because
do
you
you
guys
what do
are
you
more
tell him?
empathetic.
So but I'm telling you, this is all psychosomatic. Everything's psychosomatic. So when you're yelling at the guy, I can yell at the guy and say, wake
Yeah.
up and feel the love, or feel the light and love. I just say, wake up, wake up.
Yeah.
That's all. And that's so I'm telling myself to wake up.
Yeah. Well,
So
no.
everything
Oh, well.
everything you
Okay. Wait,
state,
wait.
everything you state is psychosomatic. And so when you give something to someone, you're actually telling yourself to do
I
it.
know this. Fred, I
And
was
that's a
7. I have a
not
master's in this, and I know that it's always something about yourself. I get it. Something
Yeah.
that irritates you about others is always about yourself.
But
He's
once you
he's
understand it,
he knows what he's
you can't
talking
never
about.
you can never be the victim anymore. Once you wake up, you can't play the victim.
But what if I
You
oh,
can't
okay,
play
what
the
if I
victim.
go in, like, I anticipate like, it does see, I think that I've gotten to the point that in public, there's been so many I can't even tell you, but it's, like, almost like I have a spiel when I go in everywhere, and it's not, like, necessarily it's just, I don't know how to explain it.
But you
It's
gotta well, you got a lot of buttons. We all have our buttons. And
like,
so
if I see something that I don't think's right, like, I'm the first one, like, jumping and, like, talking about it, and
right.
not everybody, is real comfortable, like you said, when you're talking about things, and I'll talk about UFOs because everybody believe me, and it is the police department, and that I was like, "Man, this is serious. If people think that I'm gonna continue and this is really what's going on." Like, they've amped it up and anteed this whole thing up, and
Sure.
it's hard. So not only are you dealing with emotional, but then you have to be on guard because
Yeah.
believe me, all the interviews that we've had so far, was an eye-opening experience, and then I'll pass it off. I won't seriously, but everything that we've said in a show has been transcribed. AI pulls up like a book on me, and it says right on there, government, and then I was told like by Stephen Bassett, who's like, "Oh yeah, when they're almost done with the military, like, experiencers. Next, they're gonna come for the civilians." Well, come on now, that was the furthest thing that we knew going back. They said they didn't care what we had to say. Well, now, yeah, they do. They did care. They did care.
Yeah.
And I successfully now am getting it, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't care about all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But they're coming for us next. And there's actually a post disclosure civilian ways that you can protect yourself because they say the media will start coming for you and people in your
Yep.
community. And I'm already noticing the people in the community. So every day we get closer to disclosure, I'm like freaked out a little bit. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean for the rest of us? Fred, you included, being MUFON.
Yes.
I mean, they're coming for you
Hey,
eventually, like
I've already been hit. James and I were working that one thing, and 4 days later, I got hit with a psychotronic
Whoa.
energy and put me in the hospital with vertigo. So
Yeah.
I was
And
given the
they're
same message James was saying. I got hit. And I didn't like it, but I'm like James. It's like again, it's like I'm going to tell my story no matter what. You know.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I do know that the military, once you know something, they will actually use it's almost like an energy, and
yeah.
people will get migraines and
Havana
headaches.
syndrome,
Yeah.
they talk
Yes,
about.
and it's been all over the YouTube onto those things, and that's what
Hmm.
they're using to take care of people.
Well, again,
Because
everybody has their own frequency, and so
yep,
they can dial in on that frequency, your IP address, and this hit
Hmm.
you
yeah,
individually, and take,
And you guys are going to be the first targets because all your stuff is on file
yeah.
with that nice government of
Oh yeah,
ours.
oh
yeah.
yeah,
That's
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you're going to be.
Well,
I'm
mine is
sorry.
too.
I have to apologize in advance because now that I have been on this show, you're probably going to be targeted.
No, I already have it. I'm on 3 government lists too. Yeah,
Yay!
and the local one.
hey,
Yes, yes, yes. I was told, and you can even check it out for yourself. I am on the local intel with the Dubuque Police Department. They watch the show, and then
Oh, good.
everything's
nice,
transcribed. Yes, I swear to you, you wouldn't even believe the story. And when it's done, because it's going back to court, when I tell
really,
you the extreme and the extent this went, and where I found myself occupied for 5 days, you won't believe this. I'm telling you, but it's in the court, so I can't say much about it, but it's a true story. I'm telling you, I'm there. I'm there too.
Oh yeah, it's
This show, oh my. You don't
it's
think,
good.
yeah.
Stand up
Yeah.
for what you believe. It's
yeah,
I
and
can't.
that
Yeah.
that's one thing that we need to do is if other people don't want to believe it, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's really okay.
I'm
If
not
you
gonna make
choose
or break
not to
my day.
believe it, that's all. But I'm not going to deny what's happened to
Mm-mm.
me ever. And
yeah,
it's
God,
I
you guys are
talk to people like that. I'm like, we all have our agency, don't we, to choose what we want to believe. But I'm never going to ever doubt what I saw.
mm-hmm.
And one, just to lead into that, to help my wife. I love my wife, Holly. You'll have to meet her someday, Chloe. You'd really like her. So we went to bed,
Scott's right
and
about this. Sorry, go ahead.
part, oh, sorry.
No,
Um,
Scott's saying that my town was first in full surveillance. I was in the first
oh
smart
wow.
city. So
Oh
down to our
really?
garbage has pictures taken of it. Yeah, this is the worst place. This is the worst place to be.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it just popped up. Yeah, when you were saying that, it took me back. I just on that surveillance part. I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's right.
it's kind of crazy, but um, we went to bed. Holly and I went to bed, and I was kind of feeling funky, and I just couldn't sleep. Finally, about 3 in the morning, I finally fell asleep, and I woke up because I felt this feeling of love, and I felt like somebody touched my face, kind of like when your mom touches your face when you're a child. It
Oh
was
yeah,
just that love, and I just kind of woke up, and there was nobody there.
my grandma. I'll think of.
Yeah,
Yeah, like that. Oh yeah, that's awesome.
and I just didn't think, went back to sleep. And the next day I got up and showered and went back. And on my nightstand was a Lego spaceship and a baseball card that I lost when I was a child. Both of
Oh
them
wow.
in perfect condition. I've showed Fred on a podcast them before, and they're in perfect condition from the 70s. And so it's like when I talk to Holly, I'm like, well, what do you think of this? She's like, well, I don't know. And it's hard for people. It really is hard for people to believe things, even though the evidence is there. But you just got to let people believe. And
Well, you were
I've been,
6, right? You were
I
6
was,
when they first so I can
yeah,
say up until 2017, I remember my brother saw one 2 weeks before and he's telling me like he's like so shook and he's like I saw it was with my son. He's like I saw a UFO like he was like and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." But until I saw one for myself, like
it's different.
there's no
Yeah,
way I could relate to that. There's no
yeah.
way.
And I mean, you can't. You can't. You do that. Holly and I, we actually took pictures because I like to do a fire pit at night because I look at the constellations and I just feel pulled. It's weird. Fred has explained this to me. I feel like I got to go outside. I got to go outside. I got to go outside
Mhm.
now, now, now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
It
so
didn't
I
matter
go
if
out.
it was a dead middle of winter, I went out with a heater.
Yeah,
I had to be out there night after
yeah.
night. Yes.
And so I
Oh
do
my
about
gosh.
3 fire pits every week, and I get some music going, in the background. But it's nice. And one night Holly was there, and I'm like, "You see that?" She goes, "No." Okay, watch it again. And there was a light that went across. She goes, "Ah, it's a satellite. Don't worry about it." Then she went and picked up my son, which he lives about a half an hour away, and brought him back home. And during that time, I saw a light go across the sky, went horizontal, went totally vertical, made a triangle shape, and then just stood there and then came towards me. And I had it all on my camera. So I'm like, oh, finally, 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 Holly can see this. And I'm like, you got to see this. And I get on my phone. I'm like, watch this. She's like, oh my gosh, that is so awesome. And she started getting really into it and excited. And we watched it like 6 or 7 times. And then in the next couple of weeks, we were showing it to friends and they were like, oh, this is so awesome. And then one day, my phone started freaking out. That video and everything on my phone is deleted.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of a weird, so when they're saying you're watched, yeah, I'm being watched. And
Yeah.
they didn't want that out. I mean, what would it hurt?
Mhm.
Really think about it. The
I
TikTok
was
videos
warned
out of there.
too, though. I had when I first got started Twitter, and you want to talk about bashed. I made a comment and that I was given documents about the Rendlesham Forest, and it just like, and they said if you release these, and they weren't messing around. But that's
Well,
just the nature. You want to give people the truth. My phone
yeah.
exploded. The screen on it did one time for a document that I thought I had completely cut the back end
Hmm.
off it. So,
Yeah.
but now they have AI. They're in everything.
Oh, yeah. You can't. Yeah.
Everything.
we don't even have Google or Alexis in our house.
Ah,
That's just another vehicle for them to listen to you. So if you have
Absolutely.
it, get rid of it because there's no reason that you need to have it. They listen enough on your phone.
mm-hmm.
Well, I just found out Wi-Fi. If you got Wi-Fi in the house, through Wi-Fi, they can find out where you are in your
Mm-hmm.
house
Yep.
exactly. Just
Yep.
they know
Yeah.
where you're at, what you're
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
doing, things of
Yep.
that nature. Holy
Yeah.
crap! And now they're going to get audio through
Mm-hmm.
through that Wi-Fi
Yeah.
soon enough. It's
It's
I
crazy.
crazy.
realized when I took my phone and it was dead, but Google Pay still worked on it, that there was a problem. You know, regardless
Yeah.
if the battery was dead or not,
Oh yeah. It's kind of
it,
crazy.
it still worked at the ATM.
Now,
The Google
now,
picked it
Chloe,
up.
do you get? Because I get phone calls, and I used to think they were just scam calls, but now I get phone calls, and I can hear somebody on the other end of the phone, but they never say anything. Then I try to call it back, and the number doesn't even work. And I thought, it's scam calls. But then I started talking to Fred, and Fred's like, no, you're being watched. We're
Oh
calling.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's
Wink,
like,
wink.
yeah, wink,
So
wink,
wink,
yeah,
wink.
Everywhere, everything.
yeah.
If you have an iPhone, if your face is in front of it, you'll look. If you look under a IR light, you'll see the flash like every 3 seconds.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. Yes.
Little James here is a threat to humanity,
I bet.
which is crazy because before I came out, nobody cared. But
Hmm.
now everybody cares, and it's fine. I don't care. So they can do
I
what
think
they
as
want.
long as you're prepared, and it's hard because we're scattered. You know, we're
Yeah,
not strategically placed all together. That would be way too easy. You know, so
yeah,
we're scattered here, and we just have
and
to, connect and keep that
it
because you
yeah.
can't do it alone.
No, we can't because I was actually taken on a ship, and um, I didn't know anybody on it. There was people from all over the nation, and I was talking with this girl Jill, and she was over by where Fred lives. And I
Isn't
was
that
saying,
crazy? Yeah, I've heard that
why am
before.
I here? They're like, they're gathering all the star seeds. And she was like, they'll only keep you a little while longer. And they took my blood, took semen, took my stuff. And then I was dropped off next to my truck out in West Desert. And it was like, same thing. But my question is, why won't the government just release it? I mean, we're smart people. Fred, I'll leave
Mhm.
this to you. You can talk about this a little bit.
Why the government doesn't release it?
I
Well,
mean,
again,
it's
there's
like,
Well, they're the same. They can't. I mean, it's like you could have everything up in their face, and for some reason, until the government says this is what happened, then
yeah,
it's not. People can just pretend like it doesn't
well, we've
happen.
got to
I don't know.
we got to go through with the deep state and get rid of the deep state. That's what we have to do.
Absolutely.
And then once we get rid of the deep state, then all this stuff will come out, and we'll
yeah.
ascend
Do
to
we
that
need them to come out
to
with
the
it?
type to the type one
Yeah.
civilization like Taku talks about. You know, this type one
Mhm.
civilization. So
And then
we
you're
have to
being hunted down by your local neighbor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully we don't have a
great.
cataclysmic event
Yeah.
happen, which I don't think is going to happen. But we're right on the verge. You know, we got
Yeah.
to let the politics play out.
Yeah.
We got to get the deep state out, and once that's out, then your 0 point energy is going to come forward, and all this stuff is
Yeah.
going to raise up, and money will soon be eliminated. You know, the idea of money just crawl. I just even
Yeah.
when I was in my 20s, I said this doesn't make any sense. You know,
There's
I
two
work.
groups, and we're not like in that
Yeah,
group. I mean,
we're
like
not part of
top
the elite group.
3%, and
Yeah. We're
yeah,
not
the
cool
rest
enough. Yeah.
of us. But
Yeah.
they do that
It's
on purpose. Like they purposely
yeah.
try and keep you down because you're too powerful. Look at, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
both of you are very powerful.
and they
Oh
don't want
yeah.
us together. They don't like
No.
us three being together. They like us isolated because they can intimidate us. But when we're together, we're powerful.
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I was told by Lauren, the Arcturian, my star mother, that in the next 2 years things are going to happen. Release is going to happen in the next two
Yeah.
years. And so
Even
I
Chris
think,
Yeah, even Chris Bledsoe says a big download of love energy is going to happen on Easter 2026. So
yeah, so
we'll
Yeah,
see
it's,
on
let's
that
see if
one.
he's
Yeah,
right. He's, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I hope
he's,
he's right. I hope he's
yeah,
right.
yeah,
He's
I just feel like they
gonna,
can switch up the timeline. Like,
yeah.
when we put them into a place, like it's like we back them into a corner, and then they don't do things necessarily when we think they are. Like Project Bluebeam, everybody started to become aware of it. So it's like that was supposed to be a thing. Like they
Hmm.
just can't do it if the majority of the people they've got to test that. They've got to have
Yeah.
something, problem reaction solution. I
Yeah.
for one, it's just like, why do we need that? Can't we just go about? Because then maybe we could be ready. Because until, according to Stephen Bassett, that whole thing and it goes to a post disclosure after it's done,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter what, because he went over and he talked to Putin, Russia before. He's talked in front of like 20 different countries. And as long
Right.
as somebody steps up, but now they're starting to get a little intertwined with AI.
Hmm.
Where
Yeah.
How is that gonna come into play? I mean, Fred, what is it like now getting? Because I remember sending videos that I got with my cell phone through like a dirty car window. It was like in the beginning, like you didn't know. And technology is not where it's at. How do you trust any videos? Can your guys' equipment and MUFON detect it?
It's, it's going to be difficult. It can be
Hmm.
extremely
It's
difficult anymore. It might be, that's where AI is going to come in, and MUFON's going to have to say, we can't justify whatever it is. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to get extremely
That's
tough.
tricky. How are
yeah.
you
It's
ever
gonna be.
gonna have visual evidence again? Because you can't trust
Yeah.
now what is even.
Yep.
Don't they have anything there? You would think that you guys would get some software or something you could run it through to see if it could detected AI.
Well, that's the only thing that we'd have to do, but I'm not,
Mm.
don't have the savvy yet to understand what's
Yeah.
We
what's
Yeah, we're
AI
just
and what's
making a
not.
recommendation if that ever happens. That's all.
Yeah.
Dude
Yeah. Because
noted, right?
they do have the AI that can detect if you're plagiarism a document, but going out there, I've seen pictures that I thought was real,
Yeah.
and then I keep looking at them like, that's AI, that's AI, and it is what they're trying to
Yep.
do is discredit us.
Well,
That's
we
what
have to
it
just
is.
become hypersensitive in our intuitive abilities,
Yeah,
James,
Yeah.
in order to say
Yeah.
this is real or not. We'll just have to go say with our own gut feeling and say this is real and this is not.
yeah,
It's
this
just
is
like
it. Yeah,
we have to do with our even with our belief patterns. When
yeah,
something comes in, is this real or is this not? Just like are aliens good or are aliens bad? You have to deal with it yourself, and you have to tell yourself what's right and what's wrong. So.
yeah. I had
Would
to
you ever thought
investigate.
about? I just want to say this real quick. Collaborating on maybe like a handbook for step 2. Because it ends at step 1, and a lot of people don't know. Okay, when you're experiencing it, like the little tricks, like of staying conscious. I used to tell myself all the time, when you have an experience, like you just had to repeat it in my head. So I would,
Mhm.
sensory, see what you smell, see what you
Right.
hear, like
Yeah,
like stuff like that. You guys, that would be. I mean, that's really needed. I really
I'm
think
at,
it is.
yeah, I'm actually writing that. I'm glad you mentioned that
Oh, I
because
didn't know. Yeah, it's needed. It's needed.
in
Yes.
chapter 6 of my third book, which is like the last one, it talks about, okay, this is exactly what you need to do. What did the air smell like at the time? Was it charged?
Mhm.
Did it smell like watermelon? Did it smell
Right.
like
Yeah.
strawberries? Did it smell like this? How did you feel afterwards? There's a whole different thing that we can do. Yeah, I'm going to be using Fred because
Oh, that's awesome.
he's my
Yeah.
little dictionary, and so
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Fred's good. He'll keep you in line too and keep you
But I
focused.
have to say, you have to program yourself. It's
yeah,
just like if you messed up or something like that, it says, okay, next time I have this lucid dream, I'm going to sit there, I'm going to look. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to look. I'm going to maybe ask a question. If I see if I get a response, or vice versa, because I don't want to interrupt how spirit. Sometimes spirit comes in and then you go, oh my God, and
mm,
I just say, don't freak out. And I remember having a lucid dream, and I'm there, and all of a sudden I started moving towards this door. And I told myself, I can go right through the door. I went right through the door. I flowed right through the door, and I started seeing these. I thought I was going into an SSP where I started seeing these Nazis and these military guys. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And next thing I get slammed into this cylinder, and I went down. I'm like, where am I going?
yeah,
And I opened up and I'm going,
Yeah.
instantly going, this is where they do all the deep state programming in our heads. And I just
mhm,
Mhm.
freaked out. I said, I need to get the hell out of here. And whoa, and off I went. I'm like, that was a strange, strange dream, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
So
yeah,
those
it's
are the
funny
type of things. So
because
once you get the dream, but then you have to go back to that dream, say, well, if that happens again, I need to do that. So program yourself to
yep,
not get freaked out,
Yeah.
you know,
just
and
do it.
say, and
Yeah.
Fred always say, tell yourself to stay calm.
say,
You're
calm,
taking
And
control of
confident,
it. Yeah.
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 yeah. Yeah, it's
But
like how many of us we get older, we wake up during the night. But I started doing a study on this. If you wake up at the same time, like I
Mm-hmm.
wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning, if
Every
when I do get to sleep, um, and it's always the same time. Now that is not a coincidence.
no,
Something's happening to you if you're
something's
waking up at the
programmed.
same
Yep.
time every day. You're being programmed to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And now
My
I
body
need to talk.
rejects that programming. But you're up.
Yeah.
You're right. You're
You're
right.
like, whoa, every day, and to be able to do this, but
Yeah.
Terminators. Oh, okay.
I
Yeah,
like dreams once in a while,
yeah,
long, lengthy ones.
yeah. I tell myself when I go to bed, I'm like, don't, James, don't dream, don't dream, don't dream, and I do this little mantra, don't dream, don't dream,
Dream. Right.
and
To stay more
and
Well,
conscious.
you know,
it,
the knot doesn't register in consciousness. So it says, do
no,
dream, do dream, do dream.
yeah, and it doesn't matter because I will wake up nights
Yeah,
and I'll just hear little one, little one,
there it is. Yeah.
it's your mother, little one, and I'll
Mm.
wake
So
up
there it is.
and I just turn on the light, immediately go over to my desk, and I will hear it downloading. And as it's downloading, I will write it as fast as
Wow.
I can get it
Yeah.
down. And
So that's how yeah. I
Uh,
take it.
uh,
You should see the notes that I take and everything that you're saying. Like, I connect weird dots. Like, I'll have one
mhm,
page be another, and it's just like it comes so fast. And that's how
yeah,
I deal with it. It's like, but you got to, like, they told me, like, okay, for like a near death experience, I think Dolly Saffron said, lay upside down in your bed. That way you don't get too comfortable and too conscious. So when you
mhm,
do it, because I said
feel that,
I'm
yeah,
out snoring, like, with
well, that was
meditation.
pretty.
I got
That
awake.
was pretty cool, James. Like you were waking up at
Yeah.
1 o'clock, so they were programming you to wake up at 1, and then they said, "Okay, now it's 1 o'clock." Now it's like ding, 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 and it's Lauren or somebody saying,
yeah,
"You need to write this down." So they're already
right,
programming you. So you just say, "Why am I waking up at 1 o'clock? There must be a reason why I'm waking up at 1." And then
yeah,
that's what you could ask. That's it. Tell me what you want for me to do at 1 o'clock. Evidently,
yeah,
something's waking my ass up at one
Hmm.
o'clock for
yeah,
some reason.
It's creating an awareness of something.
Yep.
Until you figure it out, it's
yeah.
going to keep on happening.
And it
Yep.
happens sometimes that I wake up and like, Holly, I need to go outside, and she'll like,
Right.
nope, you're staying here. I'm like, no, I need to go outside. No, you're staying here. I'm like, I'll wait till she's asleep and I'll just go outside. And I go outside and then I'm just sitting there and then
The
I'm
lights come in.
downloaded and then I wake up, I'm laying on the grass. I'm like, how did I get over here? And so it's like, so every time now I need to go outside, I go outside. But I don't know if anybody else has that where they
So
you
it's
just
a missing time, obviously. Like, you
yeah,
feel like you're going.
there's totally missing time. I
And
could
we're
fill a
not on
book
the
with
same time, like, as them. You could have been
oh
gone.
no,
Their moments. I mean, it's just like they're not on the same
yeah,
time.
yeah, because I've been gone. I've been on Arcturus for 3 days, and then
Mm-hmm.
came back and stood by Holly and gave her a kiss. And it was the exact same time that I left, but I've been gone for 3 days. And
Well,
so
it's
I don't
it's
know.
crazy. Like when you talk to some people that did the 20 and back, and then they
Yeah.
say that missing time, is you splitting off. That it creates like some complications here,
Hmm.
like with different things like we struggle with like during that time. So I don't.
It's hard to
It's really
comprehend all
fascinating.
that stuff because
Hmm.
everything's a timeline. You split off
Hmm.
this timeline, you go create another
Yep.
timeline, you do that, and you come back to that
Yeah.
same time, that same spot, and like
Yeah.
nothing ever happened. You're like, oh, I just had a dream, and bwomp, you're back
It's
in the.
hard to click though what
It's
that would be like when you say to jump
Yeah.
timelines. And I always say to people,
yeah,
Yeah.
think of the most like the period in your life that caused extreme change. And from that point forward, your life went into a different direction. That's
Yeah.
how a timeline splits for me. Like, that's
Yeah.
those are the moments I go to. But yeah,
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people, can manipulate those and go back and forth. And
The
just,
weirdest thing that's happened to me is I've come back and I turned on the light, went into the bathroom, looked at the mirror, and then I walked away, but then my image was still looking in the mirror, just for a split
Oh yeah.
second. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
all right. So I'm not quite the whole
Oh
time
yeah.
frequency thing. I'm not quite sure how that works, but
We're
one of
like
the
7 seconds behind in our vision. But
yeah
don't you
some
wonder? Like I think there's a parallel. There is.
there
I've had.
there's something going on, and one of your
Mhm.
people that's on here asked me. It's a while ago. I apologize. I didn't get to your question, but they asked, would you do it if you had a chance to change the past?
Mhm.
What would you do? I've been asked that question a lot, and I hate to say this, I would never change anything.
No, that seems
Everything
like
that's
a catastrophe.
everything that's
Oh,
happened to my life,
yeah.
I has helped me get to this point in my life that I am now.
You would have to
And if
re-experience stuff all
yeah,
differently and all that. Nah, no way.
yeah, I'm good. I'm good for what even
Me too. I'm gonna pass. Hard pass
yeah,
on that one.
and even
James and I are already looking toward the ascension part of it. So
yeah,
that's the
What are you guys
ultimate goal.
leaving me behind? No
we'll come and
man
get
left
you.
Well,
behind,
you gotta do
Fred.
it for yourself,
Oh
girl.
man. Well, yeah,
We'll come and
I'm
get you.
just trying to thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. I just
Well,
need a hand. I can get there the rest of the way. You just gotta let me know you're going, what the plan is.
I
See
told
that's
Fred, yeah, I
yeah.
said
Go ahead,
next time I go anywhere, I'll have
yeah.
him go
Tell me,
next. We'll go to Nebraska. We'll swing by. We'll pick up
yep,
Fred. We'll
Yeah.
have
yep.
a party of it, and yeah, it doesn't
Yes.
happen.
Why aren't we
So,
testing it? Well, come get me in Iowa because I need a little lift out. I
Yeah.
oh,
just have to
okay,
calm myself. As you can see, this stuff gets
yeah,
me excited. But you
yeah,
have to, like Fred said, you should write this in the book. Like, be prepared for, because they're gonna try and scare you. There's gonna be
oh
all
yeah,
sorts of layers of yourself that's not gonna want to believe this is happening. So it's like,
yeah,
creating. That's what I think of. Like that
yeah, because
lady that looked like the cryptid lady. It's like me trying. I was like,
yeah,
no.
ah,
No, I'm one of those people. I'm like, I'm going to do it. And I do. Like, that's, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, this is exciting.
yeah. Because
See,
I
now
think,
you come get me in Iowa. Make sure if Fred doesn't, then can we smother him with the
well, if I
pillows?
can't wake him up, I'll come get you for sure.
Yeah,
But
thanks. Thanks.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think I had an experience where I really don't think the government wants me around because have you heard of the chakra grays?
Are the
Um,
chakra grays or the, no,
yeah,
well,
it's
explain it for
it,
everybody. So just so
okay.
it's that.
It's not like the chakras of your energy. They
Mm-hmm.
are huge grays, and they're more black than grays, and they're very muscular, and they just look pissed. They have no facial expression except for being pissed. And I can deal with the grays. I can telepathically block them. But one night I was in bed and they showed up and they ripped me out of bed and pulled me right through the portal in through my bedroom and took me on the craft. Fred has read this in one of my books. I think it was in the first one. Um, but while I was on the craft, they were experimenting on me. They actually put all kinds of needles in me and tubes into me, and they were injecting like a yellowish orangish fluid that actually made my body glow. And they didn't care. They didn't care. At their
Very
point,
reflective. That's crazy. So
they wanted
you,
to kill me, and they were going to experiment on me to the point that I was going to die.
SSP.
And
SSP. That's what I
yeah,
wonder right there.
yeah. And I was really scared because I'm like, you need to let me go. And I was telepathically telling him, you need to let me up.
Mhm.
And I kept fighting them. And he came over to me, grabbed my head, slammed it down to the table. And I'm like, telepathically, I said, you have no idea who I am. And he goes, I know who you are, Arcturian. And I'm like,
Wow.
okay. And then
A
they kept,
bully. Yeah.
and I was to the point where the experiments they were doing to me, my organs in my body, I was dying. And I got to the point where I'm like, I'm dying. Please, Lauren, come and save me. And I felt my energy start leaving me. Sorry,
Wow.
I'm getting
No,
kind
go
of
ahead.
emotional.
Yeah. No, it is.
Um,
Oh, yeah.
and because I gave up. I'm like, I have to give up. I just can't take this anymore. And just then, a blue portal opened right next to the table, and these tall guys in these white suits and helmet came, grabbed these grays by the neck, lifted them off the ground, and broke their necks and dropped to the ground. And then next thing I remember
Right.
was Orla, who was my teacher, was cradling me, and all I heard was, "You're safe now. I have you." And then they took
Wow.
me onto their ship, and I woke up and I was in a bed, a healing bed, and I spent several days there trying to heal. And after I was home, I came home because Lauren actually took me and put me in bed next to Holly, which is kind of strange.
Yeah. Maybe
But
awkward.
she woke up and she goes, "How was your night, sweetheart?" And like, I don't feel good, honey. And she looked up and she said, "We need to go to the hospital," because I was
Wow.
really, really still sick, and I was sick for about a week, and then finally I'm like, okay, we need to go. And they took some imaging and stuff, and they're like, "Have you ever been in an accident? Have you ever had trauma to your stomach? Have you ever had trauma to your chest?" And I wasn't going to say anything. I'm like, "No, I'm good." Where they're like, "Well, you've had recent trauma to your chest and stomach to be able to do that." And these were medical doctors.
Oh wow.
And so, and that happened last year.
Really.
And so it was, I
Oh,
just
so
had,
this is recent.
this is recent. They
Wow.
wanted to kill me. Their whole intention was to kill me, just to take me apart and to kill me. And just because of, if I didn't have Lauren in my life, I would be dead. They definitely would have killed me. And
What do they say? Is it like, do you think there's like good and bad ET, or you think like, hey, this is our government, like, because they hold technology 50
yeah,
years before we get it, and it's probably their creepy AI, like, who
yeah,
knows?
I think they work. I think they work for the government.
For sure.
Because the Greys, the ones that came from me before, they were awful, but they were never demonized. I mean, these people were, they were
Yeah.
awful.
The Greys just
I was
do
just gonna think the Greys did what they did. I didn't have a choice, but they
they
were in
just
line.
do the
Oh gosh,
They just do what they do. They're little
yeah, they
robots.
just do that. They do the
Mhm.
reproduction,
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that. Nothing Sid vicious, but not like James getting. It's like
yeah,
we're after your ass. You're
yeah,
down, dude.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And I
that's
that's
an
couldn't.
the
attack.
And I tried, telepathically to block them because I was taught by the Arcturians how to do this with the Greys, but
Mhm.
I couldn't do with that. But now I know how to do it. Orla, my teacher, I guess she could be my sensei. She's taught me how to block energy and keep them from entering my life now. And so, I better knock on my desk.
No,
Um,
yeah, right.
uh, I have not had an experience that was bad for a long time now, and everything has been great and loving and caring.
yeah.
I
But
think you got some government mixed in there. And dude,
yeah,
can I ask? I found out it's some more and more stuff about it. I have a really rare blood type that's completely uncompatible with my parents. They have O negative and I'm AB negative. I'm wondering
oh
if you
yeah,
have anything. Yeah, I've just been finding more and more, but I mean, I've had some weird things, and I had Laura Eisenhower, and she was talking about the SSP, how they
hmm
come through with the gifted and talented program. And I was recruited for that when I was 4 years old, and I went to a Montessori preschool for some time. And then I remember them having us put blocks together, and that's another thing. I started to put like all this stuff even before the possibilities, because all they do is they trick you into like your consent, and they'll take it. They do, it's weird, but there's so many military
yeah,
families
yeah,
that kids are affected by this. Like, how much
yeah.
do you think your dad knew anything, or do you think that was just an easy way? Your dad's already in the military, let's snatch
I
the
think so.
kids, and
Yeah, I think so. I don't think my dad knew anything. He was older. He actually was one of the people that helped liberate the concentration camps, and so he
Oh, girl,
he
okay,
really didn't.
great.
He saw a lot of awful things, and so
Yeah.
he really
Yeah.
didn't talk about it. But it usually runs in families, and
Right.
it was funny because my son Joseph, he's my 16-year-old. He loves plants, and he was like, we were planting and getting everything ready for the garden. He goes, "Dad, I can I talk to the plant?"
Oh wow, he's got the
That's to be able to do that. That's a trait of an Octurian.
Yeah.
Um, and so if it
yeah.
runs in the family, I have two children, my daughter Alyssa, and then my son Joseph. Um, experience or have these traits, and
I That makes so much sense. I was thinking earlier, and I kind of was making comment. For some reason, my audio had gone out, but I was thinking in my head, like maybe some of our experiences differ because we're from different areas. Like it
mhm,
makes
yeah,
sense. Like, like what if this is the difference in the narrative and what you go through? And because there's other people you know, I have talked to other people that they didn't find this pleasurable and they did not,
Yeah.
you know, but
Mhm.
for me, I was later and I didn't experience anything like that. I never anything with reproduction or anything like that. So, but I did have neck surgery and I was like totally, and it helped me medically where the trade-off, whatever it was at that point, was worth it because it medically, like, I
It's,
wasn't supposed to get any better. And
Yeah.
I, you know, go from that and I'm like, you
I
should
just find it
see it.
fascinating,
Yeah.
Chloe, that how can you not have blood that different than your parents? To me, that's
I don't.
It's
you're
possible.
kind
I
of like,
looked it up. I looked it up. It is
oh,
possible.
really? Is it
Yeah.
Yeah.
possible?
My
Yeah. It's
grandma's Rh negative. My dad and my mom are O negative. And the only reason that it really sticks out in my head is I always heard the stories because I was so jaundiced as a child because my blood was not compatible with either parent. And my son was really, really jaundiced and he's an O. I don't remember exactly what, but he did not carry on to him.
Well, what about the hypothesis that you were an alien put in your mother, so to
That
speak?
would make
And
more
you had,
sense.
I
Yeah,
know.
that would make believe me, that would make much more sense. My
Or
grandma, who was
later on, you just were a walk-in alien into that body that, somehow or another that got shifted,
something, her and
something of that
I are like
nature, and then
oil and
your
water.
blood shifted for that reason,
yeah.
and then James, and I don't want to open up
More wounds.
the door that, well,
We're out there going there. We
you
might as
said
well.
you said you were adopted, right?
Yes.
Did you ever get to
Oh,
know? So that's another one of those SSP
mm,
check marks,
yep.
you know.
Fred's
Yes.
right. I bingo. He's
And
right.
then
Yep.
so
Yep.
so James, did you ever get to know your real parents?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I
that's too
went to
bad.
find her, and I'm still right now actively trying to find her.
Oh,
But
cool,
the state
cool.
of Washington actually locks the records. It's a policy whether the mother wants to get in to contact me. It doesn't matter. And so I did the 123, whatever that is.
Hmm.
I was kind of didn't want to do that because I don't want my It's enough out there,
Yeah.
and
Well, they went
it's
belly up anyway. They
yeah.
broke. They,
After they
But I
gave away all the information.
how can
Yeah.
yeah,
a
they gave it to
genetic organization go bankrupt? How does
yeah,
that happen?
After they leaked all the information. I said my
yeah,
sister's
After
a
exactly.
no,
traitor.
after they got
She
all the
went in.
information, we're done.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but
You
it
have enough
looks
to,
like
go right down the line. Yep,
yeah,
for
it looks
sure.
like I have relatives in Washington, so we're using that like first
Mm.
cousins, and so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
using that as a conduit to try to find. And I strongly believe that my mother is an
Oh, because
experiencer.
you
Yeah,
oh.
That's
because
right.
it runs in families.
So
Because
yeah,
Yeah,
if
so
it does.
you
you'd be able to
Absolutely.
locate your family if you did it. Some people that
yeah,
are out there,
mhm,
which is biological. Oh, how
yes.
I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if Fred somewhere in his family somebody is an experiencer with your family because
Yeah.
they
I know.
run in because we don't live long enough to do the whole thing.
Right.
We
But
only live like
Yeah, I
80
know
years or so.
some of my brother's kids have had experiences, but
Yeah.
it's zip mouth. I
yeah.
I had my nephew, he was a little tight, about 4 years old, and I had a little alien pen, little gray on it. He
Yeah.
stole it and took it back with him to Australia.
Aw.
My brother was pissed off. Says, "I'm taking that pen back." Says, "No, no, he can keep it," because he knew what it was all about. So I
Yeah.
said, "Now
Yeah.
she's taken,"
Yeah.
and and the other another one of his kids, she's a star seed too, so she's right up there. So,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
so
My
I know
brother
them.
is an experiencer and he could relate a lot. And I think that's the only reason it wasn't used to like crucify me as,
Mhm.
but and he can't talk about it. He's like, I hear
Mhm.
you talking. And he's like, we have so many of the same. He's so
Yeah.
afraid that he won't talk about
Yeah.
I should stick Fred on him.
Yeah, and it's funny because my sister is adopted, but
Oh, wow.
she's not an experiencer.
Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
Well,
Okay.
as far as she knows, she's not an experiencer.
Right.
But then there's me, and my
That's
children.
crazy. Brody's dad was adopted, but he ended up finding out, and it's just like, and then his dad was adopted. So there's like,
Mm,
I always tell Brody, I was like, well, there's a party that's kind of a mystery to this day. We don't know. I mean, that's what
yeah,
so we kind of whatever. But yeah, I
yeah.
never even thought about it like that.
And there's little things like my wife has always thought that I look different because when I was younger, I had these huge eyes, bigger than normal eyes, and everybody was like, "Oh, you have these beautiful brown eyes." I'm like, yeah, I know. Everybody tells me that. But if you think about it, I'm adopted.
Mm-hmm.
Was that coincidence, or was I part of the star seed that was supposed to be here at that time through this person who has had experiences? You see kind of how it all kind of flows together.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
That's
anyway.
yeah, the course of time, I don't think anything is by coincidence at all.
No, there's no such thing as coincidences. Everything happens
Mm-mm.
for a purpose in the
Yeah.
universe. What?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like if you want to be happy, be happy. If you want money, ask the universe for money.
Mm-hmm. You got
It's
to
fun.
stay ahead of it. You really do.
Because I,
Jesse Marcel was on, and his dad was in the 1947 Roswell. He said
yeah.
real quick, like his alarm clock is like from the best time of his childhood that he could remember. And I was like, he said, so he surrounds himself, and he's like, it actually changes your DNA. He's partners
Mhm.
with a doctor, and the doctor goes in, and he's like to the gym, he's like, I'm Iron Man, and he's like, he really goes in every time and acts like he's Iron Man. He's like, you wouldn't believe his progress. And
Mhm.
I was like, well, I'm going as Wonder Woman then. It's like,
Right.
and they say all of that like
Yeah.
facilitates change. So if
Yeah.
we're stuck with the like this vision and it's so limited, so I think like stuff like that, put that in the book. That's good.
Yeah.
That's
So
really good. Yes, good
it,
reading.
Like I said, Coley, everything's psychosomatic. You got to be who you are,
yeah,
and,
it's
and believe in it. So you're the
yeah,
creator. So the whole idea is that you are
You
a
are.
creator, and
Yeah,
yeah,
so the
he's
creator
right.
has no negativity. The creator
Oh.
has, if you can create, if you can create everything you want, why would there be
Yeah.
any negativity? None.
It's
there's
getting
not.
Absolutely
through the
zip.
days of the negative. That's
Yeah.
where everything's speeding up. But your karma is like almost instant these days. If
Oh,
I'm
it is.
like,
Tell me
because
about it.
Yeah.
that's oh, that's
Yeah.
part of it. That's part of it.
Oh, it is.
And
Yeah.
it's
And
like,
the world is changing. If you just look
oh
10 years
yeah,
ago, the world is starting to be more
this is
loving. And
not the
I know
same world.
people argue
It
with me
is.
all the time, but really, if you look at it,
It is.
people are more loving and they're more kind. Peace is starting to come to the earth because we're getting ready for the second earth. It's here. And
Mm-hmm.
the people that are on the frequency and understand it and live by it are going to be taken to the second earth. Those who are not will remain here until they can learn how to be
Oh, there's a
celestial.
catch to it. Yeah.
There's a catch to it.
See, I
But
was
So
born a
that's I was gonna.
Generation X degenerate. I come by it honestly, I always say.
So all the bad stuff again,
yeah,
you want to start thinking about the ascension process.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you want to see
yeah,
yourself with the seraphim, with all the angels, and levitating up to the highness and of the love and that stuff. So you have to see yourself in the
you know
future
what I
tense as
said when
well.
I cross, if this isn't, and they keep talking about how intense it is, I was like, but this isn't, don't we get a break? Like, a little
no,
reprieve here. I don't think
no,
I want to go on some intense, like, no, thank
yeah,
you. I'll wait. Like,
yeah,
let me like play with electricity or scare,
yeah.
like,
Well,
okay,
it's
come on.
because people are putting in our life for purpose. I didn't
Yeah.
know who you are, and Fred's like, you need to contact this girl, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about things, but I'm glad I did because
Me too.
it's a bonding thing because now I can help more people and I know you
Right?
Yeah.
and I can it's weird because I can feel your conflict. I can feel
I
your
believe that.
your
Hmm.
energy, how so much you want to be good. And I don't know what happened in your childhood, but I know you
Oh,
want to be
there's
this
trauma.
way.
We don't get there any other way. There's
Yeah,
trauma. There
there
is
is, and
trauma.
so
Yeah.
it's kind of like what we do. And
That's it. That's
anyway,
who we are. But it's like
yeah,
learning how to digest that. And then it's like, so, there's things like I realized I was talking about today that when I get worked up, and so something will start to happen, and then the electricity, that I was the one, because I should know this by now, that affecting that electricity. And the more I get riled up, everything will, start shorting. It's not even, I used to take out streetlights as a kid. So I
well,
realized like there's certain things, and you got those abilities. So it's kind of like fun to use those super. I always say you always end
yeah,
up like with superpower. You all have them. Fred has a way. I remember there was a case, and I was like, Fred, I don't know. And he calls, and then he calls back, and he had the whole story of Paul. And he got Paul to open, and then and he knew all of the stuff. And he had one time, and I was like, I've talked to Paul like I don't know how many times, and and Fred's like this, and then I was telling him, and I was like, who are you? Like I've never seen anybody's brain work like that before.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah, I
So I knew
swear that.
sending people to Fred, they were gonna come to. It's like coming to God
Yeah,
moment.
I swear Fred's an Arcturian. I swear he is. He's in.
I
He's
feel
in.
like,
I wouldn't put it past him either.
He's
Yeah,
in
no.
denial right now, but I swear he has to be,
yeah.
because the way his mind
Yeah.
works, it's
I
very
know. I
um,
know.
that way
But
to be able to.
I will say before we quit, in the program, you need to spend at least 20, or even 40% of your time, even in the morning, just meditate and start seeing yourself as this light being and this
Yeah.
creator being, because you really need to start doing that, because we're conscious beings, and we
Yes.
have to interject into the consciousness of this reality of who we want to be. And so if you're flooded with all this negativity all the time, you're never going to have a chance to really to ascend yourself. So you need to take
Yeah.
a good. So
I'm a
when I work,
warrior, though. I'm a
well,
warrior. You helped
I
me
know,
realize that. So I
You're a
have
but you
blade.
can be a
to.
warrior. You can
Yeah.
be a light flame warrior. I don't care, but you
I
still need.
gotta come in. That's how I come in. I swear. I
But you
have to
still.
remember.
But
I just like.
every morning, sometimes I just stick on my headphones and I listen to Encounters with the Seraphim, where the guy goes up and then he meets the seraphim and you start seeing yourself as light beings, and you need to do that for yourself, because you're being bombarded by all this negative crap all day long. You've got to take a hiatus, take a break, and I'll just say, I can't do this, and I've got to go walk out in the woods, take a bike ride. I just chill,
Yeah.
I just walk away from everything, and I walk in the silence, and I just tap out, and I just take time for myself, and
It's
it's
not easy either. It's not easy.
No.
Cause
well,
I have the narrator in my head. You either have like the story or the narrator, and I got the
Yeah.
narrator, and I've
They
had
get
it
but
like
both.
but
out
it will
talking.
eventually, Coley, if you give it time and you give it time and space, it will quiet, and you're
Oh
going,
yeah, no, I got
oh,
a
Yeah.
hold of
oh,
it. We put an end to
Yeah.
that real quick. But it took
Yeah.
me. I would sit there and I would like sit. I was like, nope, not. The more. So I started teaching like swim lessons. So I was teaching kids, don't listen to anything. Just listen to me. I'll be like 1, 2. When I say 3, I never stop. So they didn't have time to. Because as soon as you stop, poop.
Yeah.
It's like that. I don't like to stop that, but I need a
Mhm.
filter. I need to
Yeah.
be a little bit better at that.
Yeah.
we're all
We'll get
conscious
there.
beings. We're all conscious spiritual beings, so you need to give yourself a little chance, a little
Yeah.
little downtime, a little talk with the divine, and say, where am I at? Where am I going? And let's create something together wonderful.
Yeah. Because it's taken me 58 years. This didn't happen overnight, and
And
it's only been the last 2 years that I can be able to do that. And so, yeah.
Just to live free like that. I mean,
Yeah.
you
But
yeah,
live chained. You're only as sick as your secrets, and that's a pretty big secret. You know how they
well,
yeah,
say, like, you
it,
hold
and
that and it comes out other ways.
it was
James
really
has
hard.
advanced tremendously in the last 2 years. I have to say that, James, you
Wow.
really ran the gambit,
The gambit of
from where you were to
Welcome to
now.
the family, James. Like,
yeah. So
yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like we
yeah.
all bond. I could stay on here forever. I just looked at the time and
Yeah. We
I'm
got to
just like,
go.
absolutely yes. But I
Yeah.
would love to do, I think, like a part 2 with you guys. And I know
Sure.
Fred, we
Yeah.
got some fun stuff
Yeah. If
coming up. So,
anybody would like to contact me, they can get on Lone Believers on Facebook. I post inspirational things all the time, and then little stories about me sometime. So if you want to get in there and leave comments, leave me your email. I'd love to chat with you, go
yes.
over your experiences or whatever. And yeah, I'd love to be back. That would be awesome.
I'm gonna open up some chats because you wouldn't believe how therapeutic this is. Like, I mean,
Oh yeah,
and Polly and Scott, they were there like beginning and they've been there for like, so I know it's gonna be such a great thing for you to connect with the community.
I
So
call
yeah,
I
I
call
think
James I call James Prophet James now.
yeah,
yeah,
that's
you're
yeah,
so wise that wait till
yeah,
just connecting with the community is gonna
yeah,
help you so immensely.
yeah,
And child experiences are different than adult experiences. There's so many different things. We got to hook him up with Paul. He's
yeah.
got to talk to Paul. Yeah, no, you guys would have a lot in common. But yes, I want to thank you both. I mean, Fred's
Sure.
out, they're saying they have a website. It's great. Just check out the comments. I'm going to make sure that's there. I'm going to make sure you're and stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, we've got some really cool like groups, and I think that it would really help like you connect, and that's my thing. But
Yeah.
Fred,
And,
he's the wizard. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if
But
anybody wanted to dive more into it,
Yeah, just get some
my
questions started. We
yeah,
can
yeah.
cool off on
and
that. With some questions early,
and
and then
my
we
book's
can.
on Amazon. I don't.
Yep,
It's a shameless plug, but
yep.
my books are on Amazon. So if you wanted to learn more about me, um, I do have like the Kindle and stuff like that. You can just Lone Believers, and if you want a signed copy, just email me.
Ah,
I'll send you a signed copy.
yeah. Okay, I'm gonna
So
put that in there.
yeah,
Oh, I was asking them if you like, yeah, no, that's awesome.
I
I'd
got
love
one.
to hold on to. Oh, I bet you do, Fred. I bet you do. You've
okay.
been keeping James and the rest of us. But
Now I have to give
anyway,
Chloe
yeah.
one. Now
Yes,
I'm obligated.
yes.
Yeah, so anyway,
Yeah,
it's
no, yeah,
it's
we're
good to be
family
here.
now, remember? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, it's been great. So, yes, I'm going to let you guys get going, and we're going to have a part 2 here pretty soon. So, I want to thank again Fred Zewe, and we have James Kelly. So, all of their contact information and information will be in the section below it. If not, you just put that there, and I'll get you in touch with them. So, these are two
awesome.
people that, yeah. So, honestly, thank you both so much. Wow, what a great show. That was amazing. I had the privilege. Fred's, I mean, just like family, and you never lose contact. So I just want to thank everybody. And James, wow, what an amazing guy. Like, he's so in tune. I can't imagine how hard that would be to pull through all that emotion. And I'm sure like some of you are going through that, and reach out. You don't have to be alone. There's so much of this that we have to do alone and face alone. And it's like that actually just like warm my heart. So it makes me feel more of that love they talk about is the connection. And when it happens, I just like get so excited and so happy. So I just want to thank everybody again for taking the journey into the unknown with SNX Radio. As always, this is Coley, and I will be seeing you again next Friday. So until then, enjoy, be safe, and connect. Definitely amazing.
As we go home, with courage and wonder, we reach for the light. Guided by visions that illuminate the night. Mystery cloaked in the vast unknown. Truth and discovery seeds we sow. In the starlit wonder, we seek the key. To unlock the secrets of our galaxy. Of our galaxy. And with the horizons, our spirits ignite, chasing the dreams that fill the night. Stars are our compass, and time is our friend. Together we'll journey where stories transcend. Mystery cloaked in the vast unknown. passions that echo through an endless sky. Bound by the stars, our story unfolds in the universe, our destinies. Unraveling the mysteries, secrets in the night. We travel through the cosmos, ready for the flight. Together we'll shine, casting shadows aside, in the heart of the rhythm where our dreams collide.
Join the Sub-Nation Next Quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the groove surround us, everything's alright.
From the Sub-Nation Next Quest, the truth is our guide. In the vast expanse, it's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the groove surround us, everything's alright. SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bring shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this road we will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the truth is gold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright.
SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spot. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX Radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX Radio, we're ready to go. Unraveling the mystery side by side, we stand hand in hand.